Okay, welcome back. So this is the last recorded lecture, unless I'm feeling saucy and decide to record another one. But this is conditionals. So, conditionals. What are conditionals? Conditionals basically allow us to have our code be responsive, dynamic. If something is true, it'll do one thing. Otherwise, it'll do something else. Or we can test multiple conditions. We can have our if condition, our else if condition, or else, right? So if this is true, we're going to do whatever's in here. If it's false, if it's false and this is true, we'll do what's in here. And if both of them are false, we'll do what's in the else block. Okay, so we'll take this in baby steps and digestible portions. But what again I want to encourage you to do is when you see this, don't just passively scroll through and say, yeah, okay, I get it. If you see code, run it. Okay, so you're going to copy this. I'm not going to do both of them. You guys, I can leave you to your own devices, but copy it, put it in Python Tutor or Trace, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I'm going to click Visualize Execution, and don't just click through next. Okay, I did it. Right? Actually, stop. Look at this. Think what's going to happen. Okay, try to predict. And if your prediction is wrong, try to understand why your prediction was wrong. Okay, so the way an if statement works is we're going to take the if keyword, tells the interpreter, evaluate whatever in these parentheses. If it's true, do what's in here. Otherwise, do what's in here. Okay, so these two curly braces, if this condition is true, it's going to do whatever's between these curly braces. And if it's false, it's going to do whatever's between these curly braces. Okay, so look at where the red arrow is and think, what's going to happen after I run this code? When I click next, what am I going to see over here? Okay, so I'm going to take a wild guess and think that X is going to go from undefined to 25. Let's see if I'm right. Oh man, I'm pretty sharp. Okay, so I'm just kidding. So the last line to execute was var x I keep saying equals, var x gets 25, or 25 is assigned to x, and that's what we see here. Now we're at line 2. What's going to happen after this code executes? Okay, so x is greater than 50. Well, is that true or false? Well, what's x? I'm going to look over here. X is 25. So now I'm going to say, is 25 greater than 50? No, right? So this is false. So if the condition we're testing is false, then we fall down to the else. We're going to execute what's between these curly braces. Okay, so when I click next, I predict that the red arrow is going to drop down here to line 6. Oh my gosh, right again. Okay, so now after this runs, what's going to happen? So we're console logging. So what I predict is we're going to see in the terminal smaller than or equal to 50. Okay, and I'm right. Okay, so again, actively engage with the material. Don't just passively read it. Okay, so let's do another example. So I'm going to edit my code. I'm going to take this out. And let's say that we have var is admin. And let's say that this is a Boolean and it's true. Okay, so let's say if is admin is true, we're going to do what's in here. Okay, else we're going to do what's in here. So if is admin is true, I'm going to console.log welcome to the admin section. Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to console log. Let's see if I can. Sorry. Try again. Those annoying fail messages, right? Okay. So let's run it and see what happens. So we're going to visualize execution. There we go. Visualize execution. Okay, and we're going to look and see what happens. So red arrows here. What's going to happen after this line runs? think that is admin is going to be assigned true. Let's see if I'm right. Yes. Now we're going to evaluate with the if statement. We're going to look at what's in the parentheses and say, is it true or false? Well, look at the T diagram, right? Look at the global frame. Admin is assigned true. So this is admin is going to evaluate to true. Okay. If it's true, we're going to run line 4. Okay. So if I click next, we jump down inside of the first if condition. We're going to console log welcome to the admin section. I'm sorry. Okay. Click next and we're done. That's it. Okay. So let's edit this and false, change it to false. So it's pretty clear what's going to happen, right? We're just going to console log sorry, try again. But what I want to point out is we don't just have to run one thing. We could run an entire section of code inside of our first if statement, right? So if it's true, we can do all kinds of stuff. We could run 100 lines of code, 1,000 lines of code, run all kinds of functions. We can do whatever we want, right? So just to sort of demonstrate this, I'm going to say var secret equals I love kale, which love is a strong word, but Okay, so inside of inside of the if statement, if it's true, I'm going to run lines 4 and 5. If it's false, I'm going to run line 7. Okay, so let's check this out and see what happens. So I run the code. The JavaScript interpreter is basically set aside space for the asAdmin variable and the secret variable. Okay, so it just sets them both to undefined by default. So when I click the next button, this line of code is going to execute, and my prediction is admin is going to be set to false. Okay, sure enough it is. Okay, admin is false. Now we're on line 3. What's going to happen? Okay, it's an if statement, so we're going to evaluate what's inside the parentheses. What is it? Well, it's false, right? So the if statement evaluates to false, we drop down to the code that's inside the else block, okay, inside these curly braces. And what's inside these curly braces? Line 7, right? So my prediction is when I click next, the red arrow is going to drop down to line 7. Cool. Well, line 8. Okay. So we get sorry, try again. And I forgot to do something. Let me do this. Let's console .log secret. Okay, sorry about that. Let's try it again. Okay, I'll go through this a little faster this time. So isAdmin is false. We're going to be assigned false. This evaluates to false, so we're going to run this code in. I'm sorry, we're going to drop down to sorry, try again. Okay, so it drops down here, and now what's next? So once line 7 executes, we're going to see sorry, try again, and then what comes after that, right? So code executes from top to bottom. It just goes boom, 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 boom down the line. What the if and else statements do is sort of switch, put it on a different track, right? Like the little lever you pull to switch a train to a different track. So if it's false, we're going to run this line, and then the next line of code to run will be this. Okay, so we're going to console log try again. So click next. Now we're going to console log secret. Okay, so what's going to happen when line 10 runs? Okay, so if you don't know, or if you're confused, pause the video and think about it. Okay, so what's going to happen is a secret. Well, whatever's inside the console log is going to be spit out to the terminal, right? What is in secret? What is assigned to secret? Well, undefined, right? It's right here. So when we console log secret, we're going to see undefined in the terminal. Okay? So let's try it. Let's do the alternative. Let's say that this is true. Now what happens? Okay, so now this time isAdmin is going to be assigned true. So I'm going to click next. There we go. So isAdmin gets true, or true is assigned to isAdmin. Now isAdmin is true. So what's going to run? Pause the video if you need to stop and think about it. So if it's true, we're going to run what's in the if block, right? We're going to run what's in these curly braces. And what's in these curly braces is line 3 and 4. Okay, so when I click next, we're going to jump down to line 4. Okay, so now we're on line 4. what's going to happen after this line runs? Again, pause if you need to stop and think about it. But we're just going to spit out, welcome to the admin section, right? Now what happens on line 5? Okay, pause if you need to think about it. So when I run it, secret gets the string I love kale. So now secret is assigned to the string I love kale. Okay, so this, if the first part of the if statement was true or ran, so we skip the else, right? Else only runs if it's false. Now we're down to console.log secret. So what are we gonna see on the terminal? And again, pause if you need to think about it, but secret is assigned to I love kale, or I love kale is assigned to secret, I should say. So when I click next, we get I love kale. All right. One more example, and then I'm going to stop talking. So let's go back to edit our code. And let's say that, let's call this test, which is a horrible variable name, but let's just go with it. Let's say that test is some crazy, I don't know, 4 minus 3 is less than or equal to 78 minus 63. Okay? Is that true or false? I don't know. I don't like doing math like that. So I'm gonna have the computer tell me, right? Why do the math? We got a computer that's gonna do math for us. So all we're gonna do is console.log test. Okay? So if you've done the math and you're able to figure out, good job. But let's use the computer and see what we get. Okay, so I'm going to run this. We're going to say var test. Now, we're going to be able to see what this evaluates to, either true or false, right? The console log is kind of, we don't really need it in this case. So let's just run the code. And sure enough, it's true. Okay, so console.log test. What if we don't have this frame, which we're not normally going to have, right? It's not that user-friendly. This is just sort of a learning instructional program. So if we want to see what test evaluates to, we want to see what's going on with our code, we use a console log, okay? So we're going to console log test. So if I click next, we get true. So now when we get to this point, we know what's going to happen. We know that our test variable evaluates to true, so lines 6 and 7 are going to run, okay? So what happened? Oh, I didn't change the DayZ. Change this to test. All right, sorry about that. Let's just run through this again. Now we're cooking. All right, cool. And we got I love kale. Now, I promise this is my last example. What if test is, this test is, let's do this. This variable is true. All right. Now what's going to happen? Just run the code. So first thing that's going to happen, var test equals, I'm sorry, I keep saying equals. Test gets or is assigned, this variable is true, right? So we run line 1. Sure enough, test is assigned the string, this variable is true. All that's going to happen here, well, what's going to happen here? We're going to console.log test. So what are we going to see here? Pause again if you need to think about it. But we're going to see variable is true, right? What's going to happen now? Is this true? Or is it false? Or is it neither? I don't know, right? So let me show you a trick to determine whether or not a variable is true or false, okay? And the technical term, and I didn't make this up, if it evaluates to true, then it's truthy, and if it evaluates to false, it's falsy. Again, I didn't make this up, that's just what it's called. So to determine the truth value, we use what's called the bang operator, or the exclamation point is really what it is. So 2 exclamation points, 2 bang operators will tell you whether this is true or false. Okay. So now when I run this, again, test is going to be assigned this variable is true. Okay. Now we're going to console log, and then the bang operator will basically, first it's going to negate whatever test is, and then it's going to negate it again and give us what it was originally. So if that doesn't make sense, then tune out that last few seconds. But the long and short of it is, it's going to console log whether this variable is true or false. And look at that, it's true. So when we get to this point, we know that our test variable is true, so the lines 6 and 7 are going to run, okay? And then we console log secret, okay? So the way this works is basically in most programming languages, most variables are going to be true. The default is true, basically. The only things that are false is 0 is false. So if I edit this and I change this to 0, and JavaScript is a little weird, so let me just make sure that I'm right. So we're going to test get 0, and yeah, cool. So 0 is false, and 0 is just about the only thing that is false. Most languages, there's like 1 or 2 things that are false, and everything else evaluates to true. Okay. All right, so that is conditionals, and again, this video was a little bit long, so I apologize for that, but I'm looking forward to seeing you guys all on Wednesday, and come with questions. And again, just to reiterate, this is our schedule. So these first 2 days, you need to go through the information, watch the videos. If you have questions, go to TA Hall. TA Hall is open on Monday, not the 4th. Okay, so it's open Monday. So hopefully you're not watching this on Tuesday. But if you are, we're going to devote some extra time on Wednesday to getting everybody squared away. Okay, so again, hope you had a great weekend, and I will see you all on Wednesday.